Hello, students. For those of you that are coming back, I welcome you back to History 2328, Mexican American History 2. And for those of you that are new in the class, I did see a couple of new names. I welcome those of you. My name is Associate Professor of U.S. History Armando Villarreal, and I will be your professor for this class, the spring of 2021, still in the year of COVID. This is not a course information document video. This is more about. Notice that some of you want to get started, and I will post the readings in a little bit, maybe a day or two, and then more importantly than that, then what I would like to do right now is to give you an overview of what we're going to cover in the class. This will be a short, maybe 10 to 15 minute video, and it's just going to be rather fast paced. So you got to get to work on this really quick, okay? Um, Class overview, we're going to start at 1900 and we're going to go to the present. All right. I will go maybe a little further back to the 1870s, but we're gonna pick up where we dropped off, which is with social banditry. Okay, it's kind of like a refresher because it is important for those that did not get a good cover on social banditry to get a good introduction into social banditry. And for those of you that do not know what social banditry is, I am going to add another reading to this, a Hobsbawm reading on, for those of you that don't know who a social bandit. Now, if you already know this material, then you can go ahead and get started with the immigration material, and I will also have a video for that as well as video lectures. And this is an introductory lecture, okay? Uh, what we're gonna look at here is pretty much where we left off. Okay, we're gonna look at Gregorio Cortes. Then of course we have Tiburcio Vázquez and Juan Cortina. And there is a podcast there about resistance, Chicano bandits and Chicana organizers podcast. This unit is going to be more, how can I say, in the living, because a lot of these individuals that we're going to talk about are still alive now, and it's very important that we saturate ourselves with this material. And that's why I want you to, if you can still get into your class from last semester and you need a refresher on social banditry, then definitely remember, social banditry occurs when people are disenfranchised. You can almost say that the people that raided the Capitol building on January the 6th are social bandits. I agree that they're social bandits, but that doesn't mean that they were up to something good. Okay? Social bandits don't necessarily have to do good things. They could do good things for some people, and they could do bad things for other people. Like Pancho Villa, he killed the Spaniards that raped his sister. So, they rob from the rich and they give to the poor, and the poor are nice to them. But are the poor being nice to them because if they're not nice to them, they're gonna kill the poor? Or when you look at somebody like the cocaine Pablo Escobar, did people protect him out of fear, or did they protect him because they wanted to protect them? So those are some of the kind of things that we need to look at social banditry. Okay, the bottom line is that the life of a social bandit is not romantic. Okay, they usually always end up dead. In the case of Cheno Cortina, he ends up going to Mexico City. Okay, uh, when you look at Tiburcio Vasquez, he is eventually killed. Gregorio Cortes eventually is put in jail and later exonerated, but then still dies a very, how can I say it, very unhappy man. He actually joins a movement in Mexico with Huerta, with uh, Victoriano Huerta, And what ends up happening to Huerta is that Huerta ends up dying at the hands of an American surgeon in Fort Bliss, Texas, because he is exiled from Mexico for killing Francisco Madero after that had been approved by the United States. Okay, so I mean those are things that we are not going to discuss in this unit, but just to give you an idea. So it is very important that we look at the issue of social banditry. Okay, then the next thing that we're going to cover is going to be immigration and labor, and this is Unit One, subheading uh, B. So there's social banditry is Unit 1A, immigration and labor is Unit 1B. Now, this is a really, really, really dense unit, and we're actually going to go well into the 60s here, because immigration and labor go hand in hand. You know, the creation of mutual aid societies, sociedades mutualistas that we talked about before, and resistance movements are going to be seen here. You know, and there is an introduction there that tells you, what they're fighting against. Most of the things that they're fighting against are uh, things like agricultural inequalities. There is a movie there called The Harvest of Loneliness. You have to watch it, okay? All right? Mass media Chicanos and Mexicanos in the Great Depression, okay? I I'm going to say this even though I'm not supposed to. It is more important for you to watch the videos than it is for you to do the readings, okay? If you only had to do one, watch the videos, okay? And I'm going to go through all these things one by one and tell you what you need to watch. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to have these discussions on the movies, and I'm going to have discussions on mass media. The other thing I want you to look at is a video on Emma Tenayuca, because everybody talks about Cesar Chavez and everybody talks about, a lot of the other leaders, Dolores Huerta and José Ángel Gutiérrez, but nobody talks about La Apasionada, La Apasionada de los Trabajadores, Emma Tenayuca. And she was way before anybody else. She was back in it, right after Gregorio Cortez. So she was an activist. And there's actually a really good a Wikipedia thing. So go ahead and look it up and watch it. Okay? Latino Americanos, Pride and Prejudice. That's a video that I want you to watch, right? And then we're going to go to the readings, okay? It says MAS Unit 1 readings, and it has Unit 1, and then there's Unit 1 readings again. It's actually the same one. I'm going to go in there and fix that. And I don't want you to read 22 to 25, okay? But there's about 30 pages of reading material, of short snippets, just to give you an idea of how immigrants were being treated at this time. And then you've got your term list for Unit 1. Just go over it. When you're doing your reading, when you're watching the movie, use a checklist. Check this off. Like if Emma Tenayuca, oh, I already know who she is. You don't necessarily have to write it down or memorize it. I just want you to follow along with it, to know that these are the terms that are possibly going to be on your exam. Then there is one on the Bracero movement. This is already in the 40s, but for the Bracero movement. And then when we talk about the role in women in Chicano history, that's another podcast. We're in the 60s already, especially when we talk about Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez, okay? And then the Great Picker Striking in 1969. Now, we are going to deal with civil rights later on. We're going to cover each and every one of the more important civil rights leaders that I believe we should cover. But that's at the very end, and that has to do with schools, that has to do with walkouts. I'm putting this here because this has to do with agriculture. And that's how Mexican Americans or Mexicanos before were ranch owners, and then they went from being ranch owners to being farm workers, and that's why I put this unit all together. Okay, and it does go up all the way to 69 or 70 when Ronald Reagan becomes the when Ronald Reagan is the governor of California before he becomes the president of the United States. But it's very important that you watch these videos, okay? And that you take notes watching these videos. That's why it's so important that you get through the unit 1A as fast as you can. Now, if that stuff is still fresh in your mind, then leave unit 1A alone and jump into unit 1B, okay? Because that's the one for immigration and labor. All right? Now, I am going to have a discussion board and I will post it. But for the most part, everything is good. I hope all of you are doing great. I hope you got what you wanted for Christmas. And even though perhaps that this was recorded in spring of or winter of 2021 for the spring semester of 2021, otherwise, unless noted, this is valid for future classes in future years. Thank you so much. You all have a great day and be kind to each other. I'm going to find how to turn it off here.